Hey everyone, welcome back to Solo Party. My name is Kane, and let's get right back into our Townsfolk Tussle playthrough. We're going to start by refreshing our feats of metal, and then we will go to the town events. So in buy-in order, we're going to start with Frigid Jones, Alley Barricade. You see a ruffian rampaging ahead, but the path is barricaded by a makeshift wall of old hardware. And Frigid Jones is in the group. It's actually her event. Frigid notices some adorable magnets adorning the abandoned appliances and snags them for herself. She receives the Inspiring Magnets unique gear. And so now Frigid has Inspiring Magnets. This is special gear. Whenever another townsfolk receives a mox reduction from your cold storage ability, they may immediately move 4 squares. Next up, we have Judy Mark's event. Rainy Day Fund. Searching through a nearby home, you find a jar labeled Rainy Day Fund. It's not yours, but it looks like there's a nice chunk of change inside. How tempting. You may choose to steal the jar and receive 3 coins. If you do, discard 2 of your unaccomplished feats of metal. And you know what? I think we will. We will take 3 coins and then choose 2 to discard. And we will choose to discard Bullied and Strategist. And lastly, for Granny Melba's event, we have All You Can Eat. The group stumbles upon an abandoned buffet table. Jolly day. Georgie Irongut is not in our group, so you all enjoy a hearty meal free of charge. Choose 2 townsfolk, and for the next fight, the chosen townsfolk have +1 max HP. Okay, I think we'll choose our 2 melee fighters, so we will have Frigid and Judy gain 1 max HP. And now let's go shop with the peddler. Frigid is up first in buy-in order, and we're going to try to do something interesting here. She doesn't have any leg gear, so we're going to go for this giant sock. This is going to give us +2 movement, and on our turn, we can only move 2 squares at a time and in straight lines. But if we consume a second time in a single fight, while this is equipped, we're going to read Journal Entry 12. And we are the cook, so we do have a lot of consumables, so I think we can get that done and see something interesting. And that will put Frigid Jones' movement at 7. Now, on Judy's turn, she also needs some headgear, so we are going to get the chewing straw for Judy. Just in case we make any terrain rolls. If we roll a 2 or less, we get to reroll that for free, and it's going to give us some extra mocks as well. And now last is Granny Melba. We only have 6 coins remaining, but that is going to be just enough in order for us to get the bobby pin for our Tinkerer roll. This will be our 3rd Tinkerer item, so we'll gain that roll. Whenever we end our turn, we can put a counter on this to max, and we can remove a counter from this to make our next attack cost 0. Now, this is another headgear, and it's also a key, but I like the headgear we have, so this is going to go into our backpack, but it is still the 3rd piece of gear that we have purchased, so we're going to gain that roll. So, Granny Melba is the Tinkerer. Make it or break it. Remove a total of 2 counters from your Tinkerer gear during a fight to reveal the top card of the Peddler deck. You may choose to receive it, and if you don't, you can discard it, then deal 1 damage to the Ruffian and gain +1 mocks for the fight. Alright, so just a secondary use for those counters that we're accruing. And with 1 gold remaining, that's going to be it for the Peddler phase. So now we'll get into the fight phase and see our next Ruffian. But before we do, let's check out our townsfolk. So Frigid now has the giant sock equipped in the leg gear slot, giving her +2 movement. And we've also got the Inspiring Magnets gear, and we don't really use cold storage a whole lot for our other townsfolk, but in case we do, that's going to be helpful to get some extra movement. We've also got the Haywire Cube in Frigid's backpack right now, leftover from her being converted by the door knockers last round. And we're going to keep the Aged Eggs in our accessory slot because those extra bonuses to the terrain rolls have really been helping us out. So Judy Marks looks about the same, but now we have the Chewing Straw headgear. It's going to give us +1 mocks, and if we roll a 2 or lower on terrain rolls, we get to reroll for free. And now we've got Granny Melba also in her realized the Tinkerer roll now. We've got the bobby pin in the backpack if we feel like we need that instead of the cracked glasses, but getting to that +2 accuracy bonus I think is going to be very useful for us. So now let's reveal our Ruffian, and we have the Infectious Red Atrocious. In the rainy realm of Sprinkle Falls, where flus and colds are commonplace, an ironic twist of fate unfolded. Red Atrocious, formerly known as the esteemed Dr. Honeycrisp, suffered terribly under the relentless downpours. His ailments multiplied with alarming speed and inadvertently spreading illnesses faster than he could cure them. His ailments multiplied with alarming speed, inadvertently spreading illnesses faster than he could cure them. The town grew wary as the wave of sickness intensified. The locals had no choice but to strip the doc of his medical license and cast him out, exiling him from the place he once called home. Rejected by his peers and consumed by bitterness, Red Atrocious has been roaming the Hoselands and infecting travelers out of sheer spite. He's managed to stumble his way into our humble town amidst the chaos. A plague is the last thing this place needs. Alright, so for 3 players, we've got 6 movement, 17 health. We'll get our ambush card out. And for a troublemaker, we have Terribly Terminal. Whenever a townsfolk receives their 3rd illness token, they take 3 damage or set their HP to 1. Okay, that seems pretty brutal, so whatever these illness tokens are, we're going to want to avoid those. Now let's check out Red Atrocious's ambush card. We have Plaguebringer. So it shows us that we place 5 of each of Shotgun Sneezes, Rumble Gut, and Eye Jitters onto this card. And these are the different illnesses that Red Atrocious can place on our townsfolk. So some actions may show an effect alongside an illness token, and that effect does not apply to the action's target, but to all townsfolk who have a matching illness token instead. And so luckily they will be removed from the townsfolk whenever they're knocked out or fight ends. It's not going to carry over into the next fight or anything. As always, Ruffians are first in beaten order, so let's see what Red Atrocious gets for his first action. Eye Jitters. Is it normal for your eyes to vibrate? Target the 2 townsfolk with the least illness tokens, and so this is the first card, so they're all equal, so we're going to roll for that. Oh no, you've caught Eye Jitters. Each target without an Eye Jitters token receives 1, then play the next action. Okay, so let's see who's going to get 2 Eye Jitters. So we'll just go left to right. Judy. Frigid. And Granny Melba just needs higher than a 3 to escape. Okay, progressively lower. So Frigid and Granny Melba are going to get an Eye Jitters. Then we'll play the next action card, which is A Matter of Time. Red doesn't feel the need to rush. Your bodies will eventually destroy themselves. Target the townsfolk with the least illness tokens. So now this is going to be Judy, since everybody else has at least 1. And so now we see Shotgun Sneezes here, but nobody has Shotgun Sneezes, so that will affect none of our townsfolk. And then Red bides his time, confident that you'll all succumb to your illnesses. Move Red towards the target. And now we can go on to the townsfolk, and we'll start with Granny Melba. Granny Melba has 5 movement, so we'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, putting ourselves within range 3 for our Spicers. We start with -2 accuracy, but we get a +2 bonus for the range we're at, so we just need to roll a 6 or higher to hit. And an 8 will hit, so Red Atrocious takes 1 damage, going to 16. And our next attack costs 0 mocks because of our Rascal's Teeth, but again, we need to roll a 6 or higher. And another 8. Okay, so we'll take another damage, going down to 15. And thank you for the commenter who spotted this in the last video, but we can only activate 1 of our end of turn gear abilities, and so we're going to try to get our glasses going. So we will put 1 counter onto our glasses. Now for Judy's turn, we will go ahead and make an attack with Gooby's Shovel while we're adjacent. So 2 of our 4 mocks, and we have +2 to our accuracy, so we need a 4 or higher. And a 7 will hit, so another 2 damage is going to take Red Atrocious down to 13. Then Judy's going to move 3 spaces, and then use 1 Mox to activate our Ankle Janglers again to move the Ruffian or another townsfolk up to 2 squares towards you. So we'll just slide Red Atrocious over here. Now what I'm trying to do is just get him close enough to the outhouse and to the dynamite so I can try to detonate that and get a huge hit in. If we can activate the detonator and blow up the dynamite and Red Atrocious is within 4 squares, he will take 3 damage. And then with our last Mox with Judy, we are going to use our Gift of Art to give Frigid our Hero's Journey painting. So when Frigid receives this, she can immediately move up to 4 squares, and if she ends adjacent to the Ruffian, they take 1 damage. And Frigid will do just that and circle around to the side here. And Red Atrocious will take 1 damage, but Judy did use up all of her mocks. We were done with our turn. That hits Red Atrocious's breaking point, so let's draw his action. And we've got Itching Spores. Mold spores float around Red Atrocious, making those around him itch uncontrollably. We target the townsfolk with the least illness token, so that is again going to be Judy, and then move Red towards the target. Then all townsfolk within 2 squares of Red begin to violently scratch their skin and take 1 damage. Alright, so we don't have to mood Red, but Frigid and Judy are both going to take 1 damage, and we still have nobody with the Shotgun Sneezes, so that won't activate yet. And I did also just notice, I forgot to point this out, but we had Like an Ox. If you end the town phase with at least 5 max HP, we achieve this feat, and we were going to go ahead and achieve that with Judy. We didn't want the Mox, but we wanted the +2 gold because we only have one more town phase left, and we're only at 1 gold. So if we want to get anything in this next shop, we need to start trying to collect more gold, so we're now at 3. And then while we're at it, we also did get First Blood with Granny Melba, be the first townsfolk to damage the Ruffian. And again, even though she only has 2 Mox, I think we are more interested in the coin right now. So we'll get another +1 going to 4. So Judy and Frigid have gone down to 4 health now, and it will be Frigid's turn. Now for Frigid's turn, we're going to start by spending 2 Mox for our jaunty jig. We get to swap positions with another townsfolk, and then if we are both adjacent, we deal 1 damage to the Ruffian. And so we get to dance around them, doing 1 damage, taking Red Atrocious down to 11. Then we will spend 1 Mox using our cold storage ability in order to switch out our aged eggs for our suspicious morsels. So we haven't used this yet, this playthrough, but we have a consume effect roll on a 3+. We restore 1 HP, and we can use that once per fight. So we're going to go ahead and roll for that now for Frigid. And there we go, a 9. So Frigid is going to go back to full health. And then thanks to our cook roll, we're going to let Judy also perform that consume ability at the start of her next turn. And then with our last Mox, we have our wooden spoon. We have consumed, so we're going to gain +1 damage. So we need to roll a 4 or higher, or well, we have -1 accuracy, so we need to roll a 5 or higher to deal 2 damage to Red Atrocious. And unfortunately, that is a miss, and we do not have any Mox to spend for a reroll, so that will be it for Frigid, and we're back to Red Atrocious's action. And we have Infectious Push. Red's warm companion thwacks you on the back, careening you towards a fellow townsfolk. We target the townsfolk with the least illness token, so still Judy. Then we move Red towards the target, and Red is adjacent, so we'll just turn him here to face her. They take 1 damage and receive an illness token they do not already have, if any. So let's just go ahead and give her a, how about just everybody has an itchy eye? And Judy takes 1, going down to 3 health. Then the after effect, move the target 5 squares towards the townsfolk closest to them. If the target reaches them, that townsfolk receives an illness token they do not already have, if any. Okay, and that is equidistant for Granny Melba and Frigid, so they're going to roll. First Granny gets a 9, and then Frigid gets a 6. So Judy Marsh is going to move 1, 2, 3. And we are adjacent to Frigid, so now Frigid's going to gain something she doesn't have, so Frigid is going to get some Rumble Guts. And that will be it for Red Atrocious. And since Red Atrocious ended in action adjacent to Frigid, it's going to take 1 damage from Pappy's Dentures, going down to 10. And then we can go to Granny Melba. And I also forgot to give Red Atrocious the Pappy's Dentures damage when he ended that breaking point action next to Frigid. So Red Atrocious is actually at 9 health. Now, starting with Granny Melba, we're going to move 1 space over in order to get in range for our spicers. And we're going to make an attack, so we need to roll a 6 or higher. And a 9 will hit, so that's going to do 1 damage, putting Red Atrocious at 8. And we're going to play a little more tactical here. I don't want to get this other successful hit in and break just at a 7. So I think I'll actually finish off Granny Melba's turn by moving 2, 3, 4, 5. Putting us where we need to be if we want to interact with this Murky Moat card to pull the plug and get access over towards the Doc's Hut and the Vegetable Patch. And now on Judy's turn, we are just going to move over to the side here to get out of blast radius if we set off that dynamite. And then we will spend 2 Mox to attack with Gooby Shovel. We need a 4 or higher to hit. And a 9 is going to hit. We've been rolling really well. That is going to put Red Atrocious at 6, passing the breaking point. So Judy's turn is going to end, and we'll go to Red Atrocious's action. And we have Sucker Sling. Red flings a handful of moldy lollipops. We target the townsfolk with the least illness tokens, and we are all tied. Or, well, no, Frigid Jones has 2. So we'll be rolling for Judy and Granny Melba. And it's going to be a ranged attack. If the target is within 5 squares, they take 1 damage, then move Red towards the closest townsfolk, and then something will happen with Frigid. But let's see who we get targeted first. So between Granny Melba and Judy, we'll start with Granny. A 4 and Judy. Also a 4, so we'll roll again. Granny got an 8, and Judy got a 7. All right, so it is going to be Judy. And Judy is within 5 squares, so they will take 1 damage. I also forgot to roll the suspicious morsels for Judy at the start of her turn, so if we roll a 3 or higher, we'll just leave her health at 3. And we did. So the one we healed would have been healed earlier, and then we take it again, so we'll just cancel that out. Judy is still at 3 HP. And now we have our Rumble Gut effect. Seeing those nasty lollipops makes you feel sick. Move 4 squares towards the foul outhouse terrain. Then, if you're not adjacent to it, take 1 damage. Okay, that's actually pretty good. We wanted to go that direction anyways with Judy, or with Frigid. So 3 spaces gets us there, so we won't have to take 1 extra damage. And then the after effect. If the target took damage from this action, we did not. And so we don't have to do any of that. And we can just discard that. And now it is Frigid's turn. So at the start of Frigid's turn, we're going to go ahead and start by moving towards the detonator. So because of our giant sock, we have 7 movement, but we can only move 2 at a time in a straight line. But that actually does perfect for us right here, because we turn around and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get us next to the detonator. Then we will spend 1 mox to switch out our suspicious morsels for our aged eggs. And we will go ahead and consume those to add +3 to our terrain roll. And we will give that +3 to our terrain rolls to Granny Melba on her next turn as well, thanks to the cook roll. And now, because that was the second time we consumed in a single fight while this is equipped, we're going to read Journal Entry 12. A glutton's reward. A townsfolk eats snacks and doubles in size. Their gut rips their sock and no one's surprised. They fall on their face and everyone laughs, but something falls out as the sock splits in half. It's a note that is signed by the bard Big Clyde, a musician as violent as he is wide. He roams the hoselands playing out-of-tune songs, knocking out hecklers who say he plays wrong. The note says he's tired from all of his fame, so he stashed his gear to later reclaim. I've hidden my goods in the peddler's cart, and if anyone steals it, I'll rip them apart. So we're going to trash number 24, the big sock, and unlock and receive 75 and 76. So Frigid discards the big sock and gains the crumpled note special gear, which says if another townsfolk buys a piece of gear from the peddler's cart worth 8 coins or more, we read Journal Entry 6. And now we have the Stinky Shambles leg gear to equip, which just gives us +1 movement, but our movement is now freed up. We don't have to move 2 at a time in a straight line. But if another townsfolk ends their turn adjacent to you, they take 1 damage and gain +2 movement for the fight. And now we're going to get back to our turn. We are going to spend 1 more mox in order to try to activate the detonator. Excuse me, it cost us 2 mox when adjacent. So we had 3 left, we're spending 2, we have 1 mox left. We get +3 to our roll, so even if we roll a 1, it's actually just a guaranteed success. We'll go ahead and roll. We get the 8 we needed, so we detonate the dynamite. All characters within 4 squares of the dynamite take 3 damage, and then remove dynamite from the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. Red Atrocious is there. Nobody else is 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone else is outside of the range. So Red Atrocious takes 3 damage, going down to 3 HP remaining, bypassing the last breaking point. So let's see how Red Atrocious is going to react. Red Atrocious draws. Sickness sets in. Red grins as he watches your faces turn pale. We target the townsfolk with the least illness tokens. So that's going to be either Granny or Judy, and then move Reds towards the target. So we're going to roll. First for Judy, 4, and then Granny, 6. So it's going to be Judy again. Then we move Red towards the target, but luckily it doesn't have to move. Judy just stays there. And then everyone with these symbols is going to get the associated effects. So Frigid Jones with Rumble Gut, your stomach turns. Move 3 squares towards the foul outhouse. Then if you are not adjacent to it, take 1 damage. So unfortunately, Frigid is not going to reach the foul outhouse. But we'll move 1, 2, 3 down. Because now, at the end of Red Atrocious's turn, that'll trigger Pappy's Dentures for us. So Frigid goes down to 4 HP. And then everybody is going to take the Eye Jitters effect. Your eyes jangle in their sockets. Lower your accuracy by 1 for the fight. All right, everybody's accuracy is now lowered by 1 more. But because Red Atrocious did end this action adjacent to Frigid, he's going to lose 1 more HP, going down to 2 health. And since that break happened at the end of Frigid's turn, it is now going to be Red Atrocious's normal activation. And for this he draws Crumbling Health. Red pulls out a clipboard and jots down some notes. Time of death. Soon. All townsfolk with 2+ illness tokens, so currently that is just Frigid. Move red towards the farthest townsfolk, so that is going to be Granny Melba. Gonna move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The targets look at their sickly bodies and panic, knowing the end is near. All targets take 1 damage. So Frigid takes 1 damage, going to 3 HP. And then nobody has shotgun sneezes, so we can discard and go to Granny Melba. Now Frigid and Judy are both at 3 out of their 5 max HP, but they both had their max HP raised by 1 from a town event. So if we can kill Red Atrocious in this round without anyone else taking more damage, they will heal back to full because then their max HP will lower back down to 4. So with Granny Melba starting out, she is kind of trapped there, honestly. We will just move her back 1 space and try to get in some attacks that we can. So we're actually rolling at a total of -2 because of the eye itchiness. So we need a 8 or higher to hit. And yeah, a 2 is not going to do it, but we are going to achieve our feat of metal. Learn from mistakes. If you roll a 2 or lower when attacking the Ruffian, achieve this feat. And the fight is almost over, so I'd love to get the +2 accuracy, but we're going to gain some coin. And then we will try for 1 more attack. And a 9 will hit. So Red Atrocious will go down to 1 HP, 1 more attack, and we will take him out. And we are just going to simply hope to get that with Judy here. So on Judy's turn, we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. And spend 2 of our mocks to activate. We are only rolling at a +1, so we need a 5 or higher to win. And a 2 is not going to do it, but we do have enough mocks to spend for a reroll. A 5 or higher for the kill. And a 7 will do it. And with that, Red Atrocious has been defeated. And on top of that, Granny Melba never ended her turn adjacent to Red Atrocious. So Granny Melba is going to get playing it safe, netting us another 4 coin. And then Granny Melba also had the most feats of metal this round, so she is going to gain 1 of the Ruffian gear. And Granny Melba received the Numbing Needle, a melee one-handed spear. For 2 mocks, on a 5 or plus accuracy, you deal 1 damage, and then once per fight, if damage from this weapon would trigger a breaking point, the Ruffian does not take an extra action. Okay, your turn still ends, but them not drawing an extra card is pretty huge. So I don't know if we'll get Granny Melba to use that, but we might see if we can equip that to one of our other characters. So we will gain our 18 gold, restore our stats, and rotate the buy and beaten order. So now it's back to our original lineup, Judy, Frigid, and then Melba. Okay, let's start our final town phase by revealing our 6 new feats of metal. And now for our final town event phase, we start with Granny Melba, Paperboy. Amidst the chaos, the local paperboy is still working his corner. Care to purchase a copy? So we've got a lot of options here. But really, we're only looking for the 8+ here. And I don't think it's worth it. That 2 coins might be important for what we need to get at the shop. So we are just going to pay nothing to not buy a copy. Then Frigid Jones, Kitty Savior. A small cottage is on fire, most likely from a no-good ruffian. You see a frightened kitty on the roof. It looks like it's in trouble. So we do own a consumable, so you scale a nearby tree and reach for the kitty. It smells something it likes and jumps into your arms. What a hero. You feel a sense of accomplishment. Keep this card in front of you. It counts as a 1-point feat of metal. Okay, Kitty Savior. And Judy Marks drew a bit of reflection. If this is the first town phase, ignore this. Okay, it's not the last one. You take a moment to consider your value as the potential new sheriff. If we have 1 or more Ruffian gear owned, which Judy does not have any Ruffian gear owned, so no Ruffian gear owned, you're not sheriff material just yet, but you're determined to prove your worth to the team. Instantly achieve a feat of your choice. You do not receive a reward for its completion. Okay. So honestly, we are just going to take this careful planning here because this is the last fight. So it's not going to matter if we achieve this and get the +4 or not. So we'll just add that to our feats with Judy. And now onto our final peddler phase. So we are going to start with Granny Melba and purchase this jammed locket for 5 coin. But then we are going to immediately discard our bobby pin, which counts as the key gear card right here, while in town to read journal entry 5. Couple in the locket. They poked and prodded the locket open, and inside they found what they were hoping. Photos of lovers looking quite angry, but more importantly, a note on a hanky. Rest in peace, you crotchety coot. Your music was trash, but I loved you to boot. The back has a map, it's marking a grave. How wild will these townsfolk misbehave? So we're going to trash 19, and then we are going to receive 43 and 44 with Granny Melba. So we have gained a grave note, melee one-handed unique, gives you +2 movement. You're a little too excited to go grave robbing, and you can discard a dig gear while in town to read journal entry 2. And we also have the couple's locket chest gear, gives you +1 max HP, and whenever another townsfolk is knocked out, restore 1 HP. And so with that resolved, we actually did this multiple times here, but Granny Melba achieves suited up, obtain a piece of head, chest, or leg gear. And I think we'll go ahead and give Granny Melba +1 movement for the fight, because obviously we're not going to need the coin after this. And I like where we have Frigid's gear grid right now, so we're not going to buy anything with Frigid, and we'll go to Judy. And for Judy, we're finally going to get rid of that starting artist cape, and we're going to spend 7 for the dusty overcoat. It's going to give her +1 max HP, and whenever the action deck is reshuffled, we deal 2 damage to the Ruffian. Then the last 2 things we're going to do with Granny Melba, we're going to buy the Ruffian skull for 4. Whenever another townsfolk is knocked out, if there are 6 or more cards on the action discard pile, deal 2 damage to the Ruffian. And that leaves us with 8 gold remaining, and we'll go to Frigid Jones. And I think with Frigid, we're going to go ahead and spend that last 8 on this bent pitchfork. We probably won't end up using it, but just in case we do, it's a 2 mox, 5 or more accuracy, 2 damage. If we interacted with terrain this turn, we lower the mox cost of this weapon to 0. So we could theoretically switch into this for 1 mox and then attack for 0 if we interacted with terrain. So it could be good to have on her. It's also good because that spends the last of our money. And so we are going to gain the light pockets in the town phase with 0 coins. Again, we don't need coins. It's the last fight. So we're going to give our +2 movement over to Judy, which is going to give her 6 movement like everyone else for this fight. And with no gold remaining, let's check out our final gear grids for our townsfolk before we go to the final fight. So with Frigid Jones, we've got almost the same stuff equipped. We've now got the Stinky Shambles instead of the Big Sock, but now we have the Haywire Cube instead of the Jaunty Jig. It's going to give us +1 movement and +1 accuracy, and whenever we are knocked out, we're going to deal 2 damage to all characters within 3 squares. So hopefully it's just Frigid and our other characters out of the way, especially Granny Melba, but hopefully by the time that might happen to Frigid, we're close to killing the Ruffian anyways. So with Judy Marks, we've got the Chewing Straw, Gooby Shovel, Dusty Overcoat, and Ankle Jingler. None of her starting equipment equipped at this point, but we still will be able to give out these paintings using her Gift of Art ability. And lastly, we have Granny Melba with the Cracked Glasses, Rascal's Tea, Old Beater, and Spicers, and now the Ruffian Skull. Just in case another townsfolk gets knocked out, we'll be able to hopefully deal some damage to the Ruffians. For the final fight, we have Barry Bluff. And before we get Barry set up, Melba is going to score good company because Judy Marks did achieve 2 or more feats this round. So Granny's going to get +1 accuracy for this fight as well, putting her base accuracy to only -1. Devoted actor Barry Bluff. Are you familiar with the Actors Guild of Misty Bluff? One up-and-coming performer was desperate to become a member. His stage name was Barry Bluff, and he was a notoriously terrible actor. He was rejected by the guildmaster countless times for his inability to truly embody a role. But Barry found the perfect solution to this problem, a sharp scalpel. It gave him the ability to play any role impeccably, ranging from that bully guildmaster to his own mother, and all he had to do was ditch his own inexpressive face and borrow theirs. After meticulously collecting masks from the residents of Misty Bluff, Barry is finally ready to test his acting chops on the road. Judging by the way he strolled into town waving his scalpel around, he's already looking for some new roles to play. All right, we've got some interesting stats here. Movement is equal to the highest movement among townsfolk at start of fight +1. So Frigid is at 7, so Barry's movement will be at 8. Health is equal to HP total of all townsfolk combined at the start of the fight +3. So that's going to be 13 altogether +3, so 16 for Barry. And then we begin with Maskless and Mask Straps action cards in play for the ambush. And this is the final fight, so let's flip it over and see what's up. We have the Skinned Skirmish. After wrapping up their dealings with the peddler, the party set off on one last patrol. But as they approached the town square, they noticed something strange. There was an extra townsfolk amidst their tightly knit group. Although his face seemed familiar, the way it peeled at the edges put the party on edge. Before the townsfolk could give it a second thought, the stranger pulled out a scalpel and lunged forward. Quick! protect your face. So for this setup, we're going to appoint a new sheriff. They dodge Barry's attack and receive the blood-splattered unique gear. And then at the start of the fight, each other townsfolk receives a piece of faceless unique gear at random. Alright, so let's go ahead and appoint a new sheriff. So because Granny Melba had 6 feats of metal points, she's going to be the new sheriff, and she's going to gain blood-splattered special gear. +1 movement, +1 mox, +1 accuracy. You watch as your fellow townsfolk have their faces removed. That really got the blood flowing. Then, for a Ruffian ability, we have red in the face. Keep your heart rate down, your face is gushing. If you own faceless gear, at the end of your turn, take 1 damage if you spent 3 or more mox. Alright, so we got a little action management there to avoid taking damage. Townsfolk ability, replacement face. Whenever a townsfolk causes Barry to remove his equipped mask, they may return their faceless gear to the unique gear deck. Okay, so basically the masks he used, we can knock those off and steal them for ourselves. And then a terrain ability, bonus operation. In addition to its other effects, whenever a townsfolk rolls an 8+ on the Doc's Hut, they may return their faceless gear to the unique gear deck. Okay, so a different option if we don't want to knock the faces off. We can interact with the Doc's Hut in a different way. And now we've got our how to win. Defeat Barry Bluff. Do what you can to keep the skin on your face. You won't do much good without it. You lose if all townsfolk are knocked out, or if the new sheriff is knocked out at the start of the Ruffian's turn. So we cannot let Granny Melba be knocked out. And we have this special objective, deal the final blow to Barry with Judy Marks. Okay, so we do have the right townsfolk for our special objective if we can get that done. So we really want to make sure Granny Melba and Judy last until the end of the fight. Now, at the start of the fight, our other 2 townsfolk are going to receive random faceless gear, so Judy is going to receive this one. Repulsive. When received, immediately move all other townsfolk 3 squares farther from you. Okay. So that means Granny Melba is going to move back 1, 2, 3, and Frigid will move forward 1, 2, 3. And then Judy receives Don't Look at Me. When received, immediately place yourself on any corner of the landscape. Okay. So I think the best we can do here really is going to be this corner all the way down here. And with that, we are ready to start the fight. And now let's take a look at those ambush cards. So first we have Maskless. When an action calls for Barry to embody, activate the embody effect listed below. If there is a mask on this card, activate that mask's embody effect instead. When a mask action is drawn and there's no mask on this card, place it on this card and immediately embody. He's now wearing that mask. Otherwise, discard that mask and play the next action. And the base embody effect on the card is to target the farthest townsfolk, move Barry towards the target, and if Barry reaches them, he deftly slices their face off. They take 1 damage and receive a faceless unique gear at random if they do not already have one. And then we also have mask straps. Whenever Barry puts on a new mask, place a counter on each strap below. When attacking Barry, if he has a mask on, you may choose to attack his mask instead. If you do, on a successful hit, remove a counter from this, and when all counters are removed, remove the equipped mask from the game and deal 1 damage to Barry. Alright, my phone died in the middle of that turn, so let's try to start this again. We start with Stage Fright. Don't look at me. I'm not ready yet. Cut. Cut, I said. Target the closest townsfolk, so that's going to be Judy. Barry seems to be having a hard time getting into character. He faces away from the target and moves forward 2 squares. So we'll turn away from Judy and move 2 spaces. Then, if there are 4 more townsfolk on the board, there are not, so we do not trigger the after effect. And we'll go to Judy's turn. Judy will start by spending 1 out of 4 mox to use the Ankle Jangler ability, move the Ruffian 2 spaces closer to her, so back where he started. Then we'll move 6 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And spend 2 of our 3 to activate Gooby Shovel for an attack. We have +2 accuracy, so we need a 4 or higher to hit. And a 1 is going to be a miss. And now Frigid is going to start by moving 7 spaces. And then we'll spend 1 of our 3 mox to switch out our Haywire Cube for our Jaunty Jig. So our accuracy and movement go back down by 1. And our mox goes up by 1. And now we'll spend 2 out of our 4 mox to use our Jaunty Jig to switch places. And we're both not adjacent, so we won't get the 1 damage off of that, but we will be close enough to be able to make an attack. So we will attack with our wooden spoon, and we get -1 to this attack. But a 9 will still hit, so we deal 1 damage to Barry Bluff, taking him down to 15. And lastly, we will go to Granny Melba's turn. Granny Melba will move to be in range. 4 spaces out of 7. And now we just need to roll 6s or higher with our accuracy. Okay, there we go. We got 1 hit there. So that goes to 14 for Barry. And then we will roll again at 0 mocks. So we still have 2 mocks available to us. And unfortunately, that is going to be a miss. But we do have 2 mocks left, so we will use our reroll here. And a 3 is still a miss. So then at the end of Granny Melba's turn, we will put 1 counter onto our cracked glasses. And with that, we go back to Barry's turn. Barry's next action is becoming the locals. Barry is enamored by your unique personalities. He plans to add them all to his repertoire. Target all townsfolk within 4 squares, and that is going to be everybody. Barry whips out his trusty scalpel and darts towards each target with unthinkable speed. It's impossible to react in time. In the blink of an eye, the targets have their face meat removed by Barry's honed blade. Each target takes 1 damage, then receives a faceless unique gear at random if they do not already have one. Move Barry towards the farthest townsfolk. So everyone will take 1 damage, so Granny Melba goes down to 3. Judy Marks goes down to 4. And Frigid goes down to 3. Granny Melba gains a faceless card. All eyes and no lids. When received, gain +1 accuracy for the fight. Okay. So actually pretty good for Granny Melba. And then at the end of that, we can get Pummel Planner. If no townsfolk is at their max HP during a fight, achieve this feat. And so we all just took 1 damage. So that is going to trigger, and we don't need the gold. So we will deal 1 damage back to the Ruffian. And we'll just give that to our Sheriff. So that takes Barry down to 13. And at the end of that action, Barry is adjacent to Frigid. So he's going to take 1 damage from Pappy's dentures, and that will actually put him at 12, which is his breaking point. So he's going to go ahead and take 1 more action before Judy goes. And he's going to draw a fleshy smack. Barry rummages through his bag for some spare flesh to slap you with. The target's going to be the closest townsfolk, so that'll be Frigid. We move Barry towards the target, and if he reaches the target, he slaps them with a fat stack of cheek meat for 1 damage. All right. That's going to put Frigid down to 2 HP. You attempt to grab the stolen face meat before Barry can return it to his bag. We're going to roll plus our accuracy, and on a 7 or higher, you successfully snatch it from Barry's hand. A townsfolk of your choice may discard their faceless gear. All right. And our accuracy is a -1, so we do need to roll an 8 or higher for this. Oh, so close to 7, but that's not going to be quite enough. And for yet again ending adjacent to Frigid, he's going to take 1 more damage at the end of his turn, so he's going to go to 11. And now we can start with Judy. And Judy's just going to start by moving 2 spaces forward. And we're going to try to hit him with Gooby's Shovel for 2 mocks, leaving us with 2 left for a reroll if we need it. We need to roll a 4 or higher. And a 6 will hit, so 2 damage takes Barry down to 9. Then after that, we're going to finish moving with Judy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, we'll move 1, 2, 3. Stopping here and spending 1 mocks to give Melba a hero's journey. And we're just going to move Melba up 2 spaces in order to deal 1 damage to Barry Bluff. So he's going to go down to 8. And then we will finish our movement by moving 1 more space. With our last remaining mocks, we will use our ankle jangler to move Barry 2 spaces towards us, pushing Melba out of the way down here. And that will end Judy's turn. And now with Frigid's turn, we're going to start by moving 1, 2, 3 spaces. We're going to spend 1 mox to exchange our aged eggs for our modular meal. And we are going to go ahead and consume that to restore 1 HP to ourselves, which puts us at 3 HP, and restore 1 HP to Judy Marks, putting her back up to 5. We will then achieve the Regenerator feat, which is going to give us +1 accuracy for the fight with Frigid. Since we've consumed, we're going to make an attack with our wooden spoon, and our accuracy is at 0 now, so we need a 4 or higher, and we'll be able to deal 2 damage to Barry. And an 8 will do it, taking him down from 8 to 6, which does push him over the breaking point, so he's going to draw another card. Encore. Barry always flexes his acting chops when given the opportunity. We target the current embodied target. So the farthest target is actually going to be a tie between Judy and Melba. So let's roll for it. Judy is 3 and Melba is 6. So it's going to be going to Judy. And we're going to embody. And Judy is already faceless, but moving 1 towards Judy, he will deal 1 damage to her, taking her back down to 4. Then if Barry is wearing a mask, which he is not, we will not have to embody again. And that ended Frigid's turn, so now it is just to Granny Melba. As far as range goes, she's exactly where she needs to be, so we are going to turn around and make an attack. We get +2 to our roll, so we only need a 4 or higher. Sorry, that puts us at 3, so we actually only need a 3 or higher to hit. That's going to deal 1 damage, putting him down to 5. And then we will attack again, 3 or higher. And it's going to be a crit. Okay, so let's see what extra bonus we get for rolling on the crit hit. For rolling on the crit chart. We finally got it at least. And an 8. So 8 says, a brilliant blow. Your attack deals +1 damage. Okay, awesome. So that's going to be 2 damage, taking Barry down to 3 and crossing his last breaking point. So Granny Melba's turn ends, and we draw, pick up the scraps. It took Barry a long time to collect all these faces. He can't just let them go to waste. We target the closest townsfolk. That's going to be Judy. Barry gets down on his hands and knees to collect any fleshy scraps in the vicinity. Count the number of masks that have been removed from the game. So that's going to be 0. Dang, all cheeks and no forehead. And he's going to embody. So the farthest target now is going to be Granny Melba. So he's going to move 2 spaces, pushing Frigid out of the way, targeting Granny here, and dealing 1 damage. So Granny Melba goes down to 2, and Granny already has a faceless special gear. So actually, we're going to end the action right there, and we are once again next to Frigid. We have gotten so much use out of Pappy's denture, so that is going to take Barry down to 2. And then he's going to get 1 more action for his regular turn. And okay, we've drawn a mask, the Royal. While worn, townsfolk must pay 1 coin to attack Barry. There is no cost to attack his mask. And we're at 0 coin because we spent down for that feat of metal. So we actually are going to have to get rid of this mask before we can defeat Barry. Oh, we had him on the ropes too. Okay, so we are going to equip this mask and then immediately embody. So we target all townsfolk within 4 squares. That is going to be all of us. And all targets take 1 damage and must pay 1 coin. Each townsfolk with faceless gear must pay an additional 1 coin. Then move Barry towards the farthest townsfolk. Well, I can definitely see how this would hurt us in an earlier encounter, but at the very last encounter, we don't even care about our coins, so this actually isn't too bad. Now, that puts our sheriff, Granny Melba, down to her last health, so we have to be really careful right here, because we've got to take out that mask while defending our sheriff, Granny Melba, while also trying to get the last hit in with Judy. And once again, because he ended next to Frigid, he's going to take 1 damage, so that will put him down to 1 HP. And Judy's going to start by moving 3. And we are going to be attacking the mask for 2 mocks. We need a 4 or higher. And that's a successful hit, so we take off 1 counter. Then we're going to spend 1 of our mocks in order to give Granny Melba Happy Place, to give her +3 movement and +2 mocks. Hopefully get her out of the way. And we'll finish by moving 1, 2, 3 more spaces. And now it's Frigid's turn. We're going to start by moving down 1, and we're going to use 1 Mox to hide Granny Melba. We're going to use 1 more Mox, putting us at 2 to exchange our Stained Apron. Then we're going to consume our Stained Apron to gain us the consume effect of any other consumable I own. And I'm going to choose that modular meal again to gain myself 1 HP, and then choose Granny Melba as the recipient to gain another 1 HP on her turn. I'll then spend 1 Mox to exchange my Stained Apron with my Ice Pack, and then spend the 1 Mox for my Ice Pack to heal the townsfolk hiding in me for 1 health. So Granny Melba is now up to 2, and at the start of her turn she'll go up to 3, so I'm hoping that will buy us enough time there. And then I'll use a couple more points of movement to put Frigid right here, and we are going to try to make an attack roll to take off that last counter on the mask. So with our wooden spoon, we're at 0 accuracy. We need a 4 or higher to hit. It would deal 2 damage if that mattered, but we only care if we hit or not as far as attacking the mask goes. And a 7 will hit. And I just realized when we remove the mask, we are going to deal 1 damage. So that would actually kill Berry Bluff. So I'm actually going to take that roll back, as backwards as maybe that seems, because I want to try to achieve this special objective. And I'm just going to move the rest of the way with Frigid Jones. But no, let's go ahead and try to use our last mox on this wooden fence. And we are going to hop over and then move 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, a little bit of shenanigans happening here, but we're going to try it out. And now it is Granny Melba's turn. Granny Melba is going to pop out of hiding over here. Our sheriff on the run, we're going to gain that 1 health at the start of her turn from the Stained Apron Modular Meal Cook combo. And I think we're just going to have Granny Melba try to hide in this hidey haystack. And a 2 is not going to do it. And we're just going to leave her right there because she's out of range of Barry if he does try to move towards her. So with that, it's going to be back to Barry's turn. And he drew Admire the Collection. They're going to love this one in Sprinkle Falls. And this one has Bifurmia written all over it. Target all townsfolk with faceless gear, so that is going to be all of us. Barry holds up your floppy faces, driving their original owners mad with fear. All targets must move 2 squares farther from Barry. Each target that ends the movement inside or adjacent to a terrain piece collides with it, taking 1 damage, then move Barry towards the farthest townsfolk. So we got to be a little strategic here so we don't mess things up and avoid our special objective condition. So let's see if we can do this. We'll move Granny Melba 2 spaces this way. And then away from Barry would be 1, 2. I mean, down and to the side. That's still farther away in this direction. I think that's perfectly legal. It doesn't say it has to be in a straight line. And then moving towards the farthest is going to be Frigid, I believe. So we are going to move 8 towards Frigid. And there we go. We avoided being adjacent to it. Frigid does take 1 damage from being in the terrain, going down to 2 HP. But it is now Judy's turn. Okay, well, it does look like we are torturing ourselves a little bit trying to get to this special objective because we actually cannot reach Barry with Judy on this turn. So we're going to start by spending 1 mox to move Frigid 2 spaces towards us. Then we'll use our 6 movement to end in this portion of the hidey haystack. Okay, wait, I think I found a way we can do this. We have 3 mox left. We will move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 1 point of movement left. We are going to spend 1 mox to give Frigid our final painting. Once we've given out 3 paintings during a fight, we gain +2 movement for the fight, meaning I now have 3 points of movement, which is enough to get me adjacent to Barry. And if we can remove this last counter on the mask with Judy marks, we will achieve that special objective. So we just need to roll a 4 or higher. And there you have it. Judy marks removes the last counter from the mask, defeating Berry Bluff, in addition to winning our game of Townsfolk Tussle. So we're going to look at the special objective results. And then we're going to look at the Peddler's Journal to see what stickers we achieved for our preparations. So for the results, we have Faceless but Fulfilled. Right before Judy delivered the final blow to Barry, she realized why he looked so familiar. This is the fella that sliced her face off in Misty Bluff. Judy wasn't out for revenge, but she was more than happy to end Barry's defacing spree. As Judy removed Barry's head from his body, the other townsfolk knew she was a perfect match for Eureka Springs. Following the battle, Judy desperately searched Barry's bag for her former face, but to no avail. Despite her disappointment, she refused to let her facelessness dampen her spirits. She found a group of townsfolk that appreciated her art and accepted her unconditionally, regardless of her facial situation. That said, Judy did grab some wares from Barry's bag that could prove useful in the future. Is that a townsfolk skin paintbrush? Creepiness aside, Barry sure was a crafty fella. With the Ruffian successfully thwarted, the citizens of Eureka Springs were able to continue their lives once again, and it's all thanks to you valiant townsfolk. Congratulations, you win. You've unlocked Judy Marks' alternative starting gear. Search the secret gear deck, located under the box insert, for Ink Slinger and Blank Mask, and add them to the starting gear deck. When selecting Judy's or Townsfolk in future games, you may choose to use this gear instead of her traditional starting gear. So starting with Skim the Bog. Nobody ended the game with the Scrap Suit gear, and nobody ended the game with the Instigator roll, so we get no check marks there. Scope out Iron Gut Keep. We actually had all of our consumables on Frigid Jones, so we are going to put one sticker on Prepare a Royal Offering, and then Frigid also successfully blended in with the Iron Gut Staff, ending the game with the Cook Roll, so we're going to add another sticker onto there as well. And finally, for Pilfer the Garbage Pit, we did not complete a game with the Antique Ring gear with 2 counters on it, but we did successfully end a game with the Tinker Roll with Granny Melba. She is someone who knows their way around a junk pile, so we can put a sticker there as well. So that's going to be it for the solo mode playthrough of Townsfolk Tussle with the new Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs expansions. This is Solo Party. My name is Kane, and I will see you all next time.